What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video, on First Take, they're going to be talking about how the Toronto Raptors got beat by the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round of the Eastern Conference Finals. So let's see what they have to say about that.
What happened to Kawhi?
It happens. That's all. It happens. Look, he had a bad fourth quarter. He had admitted he didn't shoot it enough, in fact, and I think actually that is part of the problem. Stephen A. Here's Kawhi's game. It's perfect, except for one thing that isn't pitched at a very high level. That's his passing. His passing's only okay. He's not a great passer. Giannis is a great passer, I think underrated. Obviously, LeBron is a great passer. KD is a good passer. And Kawhi is not really a great passer. I mean, he's much more of an ISO player, I think, than people realize. You think of him as a team guy, but on offense, he can put on a show at this point in his career. His teammates stand around. That's what happened against Boston. I think they knew he couldn't do that against Milwaukee. Other guys had to get involved. And that's what they did. And it was working. Now he has to recalibrate. In the fourth quarter, he's still got to take over late. But it happens, Stephen A. He didn't play well. You see his demeanor after the game. He's like, no excuses. You know, we weren't hitting shots, and he'll be hitting shots in the fourth quarter in the series. Don't worry about it.
I swear to God, these guys flip-flop back and forth from day to day or from game to game. Because I could have swore a couple of days ago when Kawhi Leonard hit his big shot that Max and Steve were talking about, oh my God, Kawhi Leonard is the best player in the league right now. He's definitely the best player on offense and defense, and there's nobody that can touch him right now. He was a top player during the regular season, and now he's just taking off in the playoffs and is just playing absolutely great. There's nothing that he doesn't do well. There's no kinks in his game or anything. Okay, 2 or 3 days later, all of a sudden now, oh, well, Kawhi, he's just not the best of passers. He has trouble passing. And, if there's somebody that you want to pass the ball to you, you wouldn't want it to be Kawhi Leonard, because it's just not part of his game to be a good passer. Oh, but Giannis is a great passer. Giannis, if you want a guy on your team to be passing the ball and distributing the rock, you want it to be Giannis. I mean, they flip-flop back and forth. Because I bet you if Toronto would have won and Milwaukee lost, they wouldn't have been saying anything about Kawhi, but they would definitely talk about finding something about Giannis, about his game, or about how he's not a passer, or they find something. They always flip-flop. They can never stay consistent. So, I don't know. Let's see what they have to say.
Well, you should be worried. You should be very worried, because it's one game into the series, and I'm already ready to declare this series is over. They can't beat these boys.
And look, I mean, after one game, the series is over. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Off of one game? I mean, it's the best of 7. You can't think, well, maybe one team just got lucky, or maybe there's, a team had a bad night. Off of one game, you're going to call the whole series? I don't think I can remember any other time in the playoffs that people were calling a series off of one game. I mean, it just doesn't make sense, because pretty much every time this year that people called the series to be over off of one game, it went to game 6 or game 7. So it just doesn't make sense about all this. Oh, the whole series is determined off of one game. Now, it's not like, well, one team, half of their players got hurt in game 1. So, they have no superstars, or some of their superstars got arrested, or something happened. Then maybe I can see, hey, the series is over. They lost 2 or 3 of the All-Stars, and, the other team's got no firepower. But it's nothing like that. As a matter of fact, the Toronto Raptors, they were in the game up until the last 3 or 4 minutes. They were going back and forth, tied up. If not, Toronto was winning most of the time. And the Bucks just happened to be able to pull away in the last, 3 or 4 minutes, if I remember correctly. So I don't understand. Where's it getting this that, the series is over? I don't understand it. Now, Kawhi Leonard didn't have his best of games in the fourth quarter, which should be another indicator that said that it's not over, because Kawhi wasn't playing normal in fourth quarter. So that means in game 2, things can definitely change. Kyle Lowry got, 30 points? That's not normal. Maybe he'll be able to keep that up. But, there's a bunch of different factors in here that you can't call game 1. Doesn't make sense. So let's keep going.
That right now. Just watch.
We're winning for most of the game.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because, I'm not going to go Paul Pierce on you and tell you the series is over like, oh, my God, they're going to get swept or anything like that. I'm just saying the conclusion is what it is. Milwaukee is just a bit too big, and the individuals that you need to help Kawhi Leonard, it's going to be problematic. Mirotić is 6'10". Brook Lopez is 7'1". Antetokounmpo is 6'11", 7 feet tall. Middleton is 6 feet 8. So what I'm trying to say to you is the kind of things that you saw from Kawhi, slashing to the basket and making things happen throughout these playoffs, they're going to make him, not to say that he can't do it because we know he can shoot, but they're going to make him more of a perimeter shooter than he may.
Like I said, a couple of days ago, Kawhi Leonard was the number one player. He has the perimeter shot. He's the best passer. There's nothing he can't do. But all of a sudden now, game one, 2 days later, oh, well, Kawhi, the guys are just too big for him. He's not a good passer. He's been having a bad game. I mean, he's just not the one. Toronto's going to lose. I mean, it just doesn't. What is his basis from? So Kawhi Leonard had a bad fourth quarter. Most likely he's not going to continue to have a bad quarter. For one, and for two, since when has height been in trouble for Kawhi and him going to get somebody? I don't think that's really been an issue, and it shows that because he got 31 points. He got 31 points and only got 2 points in the fourth quarter. So that means he's probably going to do better. So I don't understand where all this other stuff is coming from. And like I said, Kyle Lowry, he had a good game too at 30 points. I don't know if he'll be able to maintain that, but. If he can, that's going to be a very big help because that's high off of his average. And if Siakam and Gasol can step it up, they'll be right back in game two. So I don't understand how all of a sudden now there's all this trouble for Kawhi Leonard and it just doesn't look good. So I don't know. Let's keep going.
Want to be. We saw the key block late in the game by Lopez on Kawhi. Another turnover forced by Lopez because Kawhi went into the paint, into the lane, or what have you. He's not making any excuses. No need to. We know he's elite. We know he's special. But I would also ask you to consider something, Max, that I think you might appreciate. Look at how Kawhi Leonard shoots. It's one thing when Kevin Durant, even though he gets an arc on his shot, it's one thing when Kevin Durant is shooting something, considering the fact that he's a legit 6'10", 6'11". I don't give a damn what they say. I don't know where they get 6'9" from. Kevin Durant is not 6'9". But when you look at it from Kawhi Leonard, a lot of his shots look like the line drive variety and what have you. Now, that's not literal, of course, because he's only 6'8". You got to shoot a 10-foot rim. But what I'm saying to you is that arc that you see from everybody else, the Steph Curry, the Klay Thompson of the world, and others, that's not the kind of shooter that Kawhi Leonard is. So when he shoots those perimeter shots over taller defenders in this series than he had to face against Philadelphia, for example, I think it's going to be a little bit difficult and it's going to call for somebody else to help him. Kyle Lowry.
So wait a minute. Now Kawhi Leonard can't shoot? There's a problem with the arc and the ball the way he shoots? I just don't understand how these guys flip-flop. A couple of days ago, Kawhi Leonard was the number one player in the NBA. He can shoot. He can always make the key shots, and he was the most clutch player. What happened to Kawhi Leonard be the most clutch player, Stephen A? What happened to be like Jordan-esque? What happened to that? It hadn't even been a week. I don't understand how these guys are flip-flopping. So, off of this, the past 5 minutes, so Kawhi Leonard is a bad passer. Apparently, he can't pass. Now he can't shoot. He can't get the arc on his shot like other players because he's dealing with taller players, and he's not the type of shooter that Stephen Curry is. And he's having bad games because he didn't do good in the fourth quarter. So now Kawhi Leonard's trash? It just doesn't make sense. I don't get it. Let's keep going.
Is he going to have another 30-point game? I don't think people assume that. Pascal Siakam goes the last 3 quarters scoring only 6 points. Marc Gasol, you got him defending. Brook Lopez, you should have had Serge Ibaka defending. You can make adjustments there. But my proclamation is that the Toronto Raptors do not have enough offensive firepower to offset what Milwaukee will inevitably be able to throw at.
But again, they don't have enough firepower to offset Milwaukee, but for 3.5 quarters, the Toronto Raptors were winning. I don't understand it. How if that's what you're saying is legit, Stephen A, how was the Toronto Raptors winning the majority of the game? How does that work? So I don't see where he's basing his argument of all of a sudden now Toronto's trash off of game one. Toronto is going to lose, and Kawhi Leonard is just not the player he used to be 2 days ago. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. Let's keep going.
I think some of that's very good basketball analysis. Of course, you have to remember that Kawhi in the shot that sent home. Kawhi sent home Philadelphia by getting around 6'10" Ben Simmons and shooting it over high arc. That's why he got the shooter's bounce. It went up and down and bounced around the rim and in because it was, high arc backspin over Joel Embiid's outstretched arm, 7-1. So Kawhi can absolutely do that, though I get your point. I think it's a good one. I, too, think Milwaukee has a little too much. I thought that they were going to have a dynasty a couple years ago, possibly partly because of their length. To have that.
Oh, look, I don't mean to keep stopping and starting, but this is just really getting to me. So if they didn't have enough whatever to beat the Milwaukee Bucks, I don't understand how were they winning? How at any point were they winning if they didn't have enough firepower? It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So let's keep going.
Kind of shooting and that kind of defense at that length, like Brook Lopez is not a good defensive player, but he's a good rim defender. So they have a guy who can shoot the three as prolifically as he does and then also defend the rim. I agree with you. We both think Milwaukee's going to win the series. But to say this series is over after a game one on the road where Toronto was leading for most of it, where Kawhi wasn't shooting and not shooting well in the fourth quarter, it ain't going to happen too much. A lot of things had to go the Bucks' way in order for them to scratch out a win against Toronto. I don't think the series is over at all.
Yeah, I don't think it's over at all. And like you said, they were in it neck and neck, if not winning three and a half quarters out of the game. And Kawhi Leonard didn't have a good fourth quarter. As a matter of fact, he only put up 2 points. He almost put up a goose egg. So the Milwaukee Bucks won 108-100. So I'm pretty sure in that fourth quarter, Kawhi would have been able to put on at least 10 more points to that too. To have 12 points in the fourth quarter, which would have covered the spread of having them win. Because I would not count on Kawhi Leonard to have only getting 2 points in any other quarter for the next game, if any, for the rest of the series. I wouldn't count on that. So if anything, I would expect Stephen A. Smith or Max Kellerman to at least stay neutral. At least stay neutral. Say, I don't know. It can go either way. Toronto could win this series or Milwaukee could win this series. But just because Toronto lost, all of a sudden now they're getting slammed and, Milwaukee Bucks are going to win. They're going to sweep them, yada, yada, yada. When it was neck and neck for the longest of times. So sometimes I don't understand the reasoning. Maybe you guys can make some type of comments and let me know, but I'm just missing it. So let's keep going.
By the way,
as a boxer, as a boxing analyst, you can appreciate the fact that you see a fighter and he's incredibly, incredibly talented and can beat most guys. And he might be better against everybody else than this particular guy. But styles makes fights. Yeah. And I think the Raptors are tailor-made for Milwaukee. That's my problem with this match.
I don't know if they're tailor-made. I think it's going to be a very tough series, but I also like Milwaukee. I want to show you something, though, Stephen A. Do you recall how apoplectic you went when I said that Kawhi is better under pressure than Kobe Bryant about a week ago?
Yeah.
All right, yes. We got to go there again?
Yes, yes. What about KD? Okay. I want to show you something. I want to show you I want to show you a graphic. Okay. Here are fourth quarter struggles in Kobe Bryant's career against the Spurs in the Game 6, 2 points, 1 for 7 field goal. 4 points on 1 for 10 at Suns, Game 1. By the way, he also had a bad Game 7 that series.
So wait a minute. Why are we talking about Kobe? Where's Kobe come out of nowhere? So you got to trash Kobe to make a point with whoever you're going with to make the point? You don't do that to the Mamba. I tell you what, Max, you keep talking trash about the Mamba. Kobe, he might be waiting on you outside that studio, and you can have a real conversation. I know better yet. Why don't you have Kobe Bryant on the show, and then you could talk this type of trash to the Mamba space. You can tell him to his face. So let's keep going.
Late in the game, and they lost the series. 2010 at Thunder, 4 points on 2 for 10. 2012 versus Thunder, minus 14 real plus minus 2.
But you know what negates all of that, Max? I'm sorry, I keep talking, guys. You know what negates all these stats and all that? Is 5 rings. Okay, it's 5 rings that negate whatever you want to say. He missed a shot or whatever. He's got 5 rings. He's 1 ring behind Jordan. So I don't understand why are we even talking about Kobe right now, especially with something negative. Both teams, the Milwaukee Bucks and the Toronto Raptors, only hope to do half of what Kobe's done. So I don't even know why we're talking about Kobe. Let's keep going. I mean, the disrespect for Kobe is just out of control. It's like Max is a casual fan that's already forgotten about the Black Mamba and what the Black Mamba has done and what he did 2 times without Shaq. So let's keep going.
For 10 from the floor. Kobe Bryant also had bad games and bad fourth quarters in the playoffs. KD, same sort of thing. 0 points against the Rockets in 2013, 0 for 5 from the floor. 1 point against the Grizzlies, 14, 0 for 6 from the floor. 1 for 7 from the floor against the Warriors in 2016. These are all fourth quarters, by the way. Real plus minus was minus 15 in 11 minutes. 2 points against the Rockets, 2018. Last year, 0 for 4. This is a fourth quarter from the field. I mean, like, KD has struggled badly in the fourth quarter. So has Kobe. So has every player who's ever played the game. And that includes Kawhi Leonard. But Kawhi Leonard is a stupidly clutch player. You could even hear him after the game talking.